going to go through the transformer shuffle again. I had this one stop, and I fixed it with a solder issue. Basically, I think I showed that a little bit on video. It was pretty simple, but I had to drill out all the rivets and stuff like that to take it apart. It was a pain in the neck to get there, but I did. Found the problem, resoldered that, and it runs fine. I've been running it now for a couple weeks, and of course this one never did stop. I just pulled it out and replaced it with what I thought was a cool concept, this dual power U25B 270 watt of AC power transformer. I thought that sounded like a good plan, right? So it's got this control and all that kind of thing. Fairly simple way of hooking things up with a little readout right there on what things are supposed to be. But for whatever reason, it does not like line L. And today was the straw where I was running a line L, my GP30 over there. It's underneath the tunnel or underneath the mountain, depending on how you look at it. But it was basically making it change things like sound and speed and stuff like that kind of randomly. And I saw that same kind of activity with my my FTs. And since I like to run my line Ls in the lower track because they run good, that's not acceptable. I don't know why it does what it does. Gotta go. So it's going to go into the black hole for transformers. And I thought about putting this back on there. I mean, these have been really, really good. Other than me having to fix the one down here. The way they work with everything I have. And for the most part, whistle is whistle and bell is bell. Sometimes it's reversed. And of course, I've run my conventional line Ls for a bunch of years, the LW. Even put up a Variac, which was probably the best thing I've done so far. That thing worked beautifully. Never ran out of power. Very, very easy power. It seemed like the locomotives really liked that transformer. But I've got two of these. I've got a 750 and a 1000. So I figured maybe I'll try that for a while. And the reason I want to try it, it's got this goofy remote, which I'm going to have to change batteries in. But what this is going to allow me to do, if I can get it to work again, is stop the upper track, take the bridge out, and then operate the upper track from inside. And I think that gives me some better options for video, right? So, but yet again, this one let me down and left the train in the tunnels underneath the mountain. So it's got to go. So let me shuffle things around a little bit, and by the time I get the video camera back up and going, whatever I've decided to replace this with, be it one of these or what, it'll become apparent and clear. So this works. It is line of sight to this little guy right here. So if I'm down here somewhere, it doesn't seem to pick it up. I have to be pointing right at it. Probably need new batteries. And if you hold the adjuster, watch, if I hold it, it'll keep pulsing. So it works, like I said. In the Lionel GP30, I've got a GP38 body for it too. Seems to like this MTH. It seems to work just fine. So on this MTH, this is an old setup with a remote like this. The good news is I can run it, remotely from, say, the inside of the track. I have to make sure this is going to be up like on the wall or something, so I have better access to it because it's line of sight. Plenty of power, right? And there's no problem with power amperage. The bad news is the delay between your input and something happening. It kind of pulses. Good news, you can use that for a slow takeoff and a slow stop, right? I'll just run it for a while and see if I can adapt. What I did here was I took this, which is supposed to plug into a MTH track, and basically grafted a couple of wires onto the end and then plugged it into my network. So I can study the amperage and the voltage changes. I'll tell you what, having the little voltmeter there really helps because it's kind of random. You don't know what's going on. You push, nothing happens. You got to watch it step up. And some of those locomotives, you got to get to like 3 or 4 volts before anything happens. So watching it creep up on the voltmeter gives you some feedback that you know what's happening when you're pushing the button. So yeah, you need one of those. Too bad this doesn't have a digital one. Maybe I'll wire something in there. So I'm going to run it for a while and see if I like it. So I put the Power Chief 120 back on the lower track. Put that on there and it started slowing down on me. I'm like, oh, damn it. Maybe I was barking up the wrong tree. That's something going on somewhere else. And I got it back. Started looking, and one of these stupid traction tires peeled off and got in between the wheel and the frame. So I guess I'll pull the shell off and take off the side frames and stick on some new traction tires. Kind of a maintenance item. Went from 5 volts to 10 volts before it come around. The good news is it had enough power to draw itself through it, right? That's the good news. The bad news is those traction tires are wear items. And right now I'm sure they're being made by overseas places that don't have a whole lot of interest in quality or care about quality. Is my guess. But yeah, so I'll put it together and continue a train run of some kind. So what's my bottom line in all this? I really like these. I like them a little bit better than anything else so far. This does give me the remote control, but it's kind of slow. I wish it was paced a little bit faster, or at least I could adjust it a little bit. But this is a primitive system. It's one of the early, remote systems. I'm going to put a new set of batteries and see if that helps. But it works, can't argue that it works. I'm going to try to live with it for a little bit and maybe see if I can get some updated, components and see if they're any better. But, it lets me get into the inside safely by removing the bridge, stepping in, and then being able to remotely control the train. And of course, I can always bring in my power remote as well. So if I have to have an emergency stop, I can just simply do this. Boom, shut things off. So this has been an absolute success. These are really about the best bang per buck I've seen so far. And I was warned that there might be some issues with the soldering joints and that. And I had one that did, present that way. But to me, it's worth debugging those things. To be determined. I was cautiously optimistic with that MRC and was just not just disappointed, I was annoyed with it. It got to the point where it was a pain in the neck. And my Lionel just simply wouldn't run on it, either the FT or the others. So now it sits down there. And the Lionel works. They work, all that stuff works, but I keep trying to shift things around. So far, the two best combinations I've had for transformers are obviously these, right? And the other is that Variac. That thing was butt kick. It may reappear, especially if I have more zombie trains, having a 20 amp power supply like that is a little bit overkill. But if I start loading up the old Lionels with my zombies adjusted to run together, where I can get 4 and 5 of those things together, it might be fun. One of the concepts my son and I had come up with, I had talked about an outdoor way of expanding the hobby, but we also have one that may show up at the club, and that's hill climbs. Come up with a track based on the old tube tracks so magnet traction works, and start doing hill climbs, trying to have the King of the Hill award at the end of the day. So anyway, and that's where that Variac is going to start playing a role. So this is the Weaver, the U25. We've been in this one before. I think we did a video where I took the trucks apart and greased them up a little bit, put them back together. Yeah, I got to do something a little similar because I got to put some traction tires on. That means I have to get the side frames on, get the side frames off, and the screws are from the top. So I had to, A couple other things we find about this Weaver. One is they got these weights right here, which is cool. One over here. 2 vertical can motors. And a very MTH-like sound card, control card arrangement that they have here. With a battery. And that means I'm going to find a way to rid myself of that battery. So it must be like a PS2 style system. Yeah, first train of the day. This is supposed to be IO162 or something like that. That was cool. was cool. So it's not I-0162, it's I-162 eastbound, and he is on track, I don't know, 7 or 8. Yeah, he's going into the north end of the yard. And I believe there's another train coming in behind him that's still out like at 291, that range somewhere. You might hear it on the radio if I don't shut it off. I smell pizza. Yeah, it's a lot of train right there. Notice that there's a lot of Burlington Northern, Santa Fe cars on this one here. Kind of gives us a clue on where it came from, right? The West Coast train. Shipping containers. Another one. Bamboo flooring. Huh. Well, still turning. I've literally seen them where a bearing is froze up and they're just dragging it along. I'm sure the defect detectors eventually get them. Yeah, this is a lot of train right here. cold out here. Have to fire up the truck and warm up. I think what I'm going to end up doing is after I get this one, I'm going to listen to the radio and see if the other one's coming in. Get that one, and then go get some food, hot cup of coffee or something, and come back. Now, one had just passed milepost 280 before this guy showed up. So we may have an Amtrak somewhere just a little bit to the east of us here coming in. We're looking east right now. That's west. So this is an eastbound intermodal. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see an Amtrak coming around that corner pretty quickly. Lot of train. We're beginning to get into the 9-minute mark here. Listening to go by. Gotta clear that switch, right? Otherwise nobody can come on track 1. Well, I think you get the idea. This is enough of a video. We're at 10 minutes. Actually, we're 11 minutes.